So I just wanted to make a quick video. I follow Fred Hammond on Facebook, and he just posted a question about marriage, and he asked, should the marriage vows be changed? Because he stated that it seems like people don't take marriage vows seriously anymore, and he said people take their phone contracts more seriously than marriage vows. So his question was, should marriage vows be changed as opposed to help people take them more seriously? And I was so glad he asked that question because just yesterday, excuse me, I was on social media and I saw something I didn't know about a Christian leader who was divorcing his wife. And he wasn't just divorcing his wife, but he's moved on with another young woman. And the controversy was, had they been seeing each other before he actually got a divorce. And the young woman is a popular secular person, which just seemed like such a mismatch, seeing how God tells us not to be unequally yoked with unbelievers. It was just shocking that someone in his position would even want to marry a woman who, is not known for being holy or virtuous or anything like that. And what's weird about it, anytime I hear about divorce, being someone who's been married for a very long time and married mostly for a very long time, not because I don't have problems like all people do who are married, but because I made the choice to represent God in the moments when I think everybody wants to quit in marriage or try again a second time and do better than you did the first time. Everybody thinks those kinds of thoughts. But I think as Christians, what makes it most challenging to walk away from your marriage is the way that it represents everything that Christianity stands for as far as love. A lot of people break up their marriages because they don't love each other anymore. They don't have the patience to love people through the things that they struggle with. And when you divorce a person, it's almost like you're saying, okay, I'm a Christian, but I'm not going to love this person that I promised God I would be responsible for loving. It's just so oxymoronic that you would think anybody who takes their faith in God seriously would sacrifice, because you won't die if you don't have happiness in marriage. I think about my grandmother and grandfather, and they both say, they stood through the hard times because they wanted to keep their family together, and they prioritized raising their children. My grandma said, I didn't want to walk away from my husband and be separated from my kids, or have my kids separated from their father. I didn't want to break our family up. So people made sacrifices before in life and in history, and people today, like, I ain't got time for that. I want to be happy, and that's the truth. Now it's about pleasure. It's about be happy, have pleasure, enjoy life. You only live once. But that's not the philosophy of God. As Christians, our lives are ministries, and I guess you have to love God to make your life a ministry, because for some that's too boring, or that's not gratifying enough. But for anybody who loves God, God says any man who loses his life for me will find it, and any man who focuses on his life will lose it. So that's the difference with being a Christian as opposed to being in the world. But he asked that question, and I answered it on his. I posted back, and I needed to, because I just needed to vent the way I felt about that as a Christian. The disappointment, because this particular person, and I'll tell you why it's disappointing. Not from a judgment standpoint or thinking people are perfect or whatever, although God says that teachers and leaders will be held more accountable. But this particular guy, I saw him live at church one night. He's a very popular minister, and he told his testimony. This was about 2002, and he basically said, his life, he was adopted, and his life was just so that he could minister. And he made it seem like, his number one mission was to minister for Christ. And I went out and got his CDs because he's an excellent musical artist. I love his music. And he had a wonderful position to minister music. And I heard that the church where he worked, asked him to step down, which I think is great in the sense that nobody ever does that anymore. People do things that are wrong and show that they're not putting God first in a leadership position. And how can you lead people to Christ if you're not putting God first? So at the very least, I think if that's not your priority anymore, you should step down. So I applaud that church for just upholding the spiritual standards, godly standards, not worldly standards. And I wish the man the best, don't get me wrong, but I'm disappointed because the thing that gets me is Christian ministers, whether preachers or singers, they always minister about the power of God. God's power can do this, God's power can do that. Lean on God, trust in God, believe in God. All the songs that you sing are pretty much about that, the power of God. Don't worry about what you're going through, the power of God. When you're sick, the power of God. When you don't have money to pay your bills, the power of God. When you're going through trials and tribulations, the power of God. And then you turn around and you divorce your wife. What happened to the power of God in that situation? This power of God that you sing to me about, that you sing so passionately about, that I thought you knew about, that you sing like you know about. Why didn't you use the power of God in your marriage? And I thought to myself, for him to leave his wife, you knew it was lust. They had a picture of him on the beach with this girl, and she had on a bikini so seductive. And I thought to myself, if they're not married, I didn't know what his marital status was, but I knew this woman from the secular world. I knew she wasn't married to him. And I was thinking, I didn't know he had been divorced at the moment when I saw the picture. I just thought, if he's dating her, there ain't no way they're somewhere out on a beach. She has on that, and they're dating, and they're maintaining an appropriate relationship, because I would think any man would say, I can't be around you with that on, you know how men are. So it just didn't even look right. And so I was just shocked that I guess, it's all throughout history, men have chosen the flesh when they do fall. When King David fell, it was for a woman. So it's not so much that he did do it. It's just that you look at these people and you say, what happened to your ministry? All those songs you sang about the power of God, you're going to throw all of that away just to be with a woman? And then you would think that his wife was like ugly or something, and the woman he going with looked just like his wife. I'm like, put your wife on a bikini. I don't understand. I know people have different personalities and everything, but still, I don't understand. So it was just a little bit disappointing and heartbreaking because, like I say, while you want to hear the ministry from people, from ministers teaching the word and singing the word, but you also want to believe that they believe what they're saying. But regardless of whether or not they believe it, I believe it. I believe in God. I believe in his power. I know the flesh is weak. I know temptation is strong. But I pray God, like the Bible says, if your right eye calls you to sin, pluck it out. It's better to go to heaven with one eye than hell with two. But not even from a harsh standpoint like that. I just pray that there's nothing that I love so much or want so much on this earth that now, in the understanding that I have about God, that I would want to choose that. I want to believe God means more to me than anything. And if I want something really bad, whatever it is, I can ask him. And I say, God, please don't let my temptation be so great that it'll ruin my witness for you, because I love God. And I really want to represent the fact that I love him. I know people can fall, and I pray for everybody who's struggling. But for all those out there, if it helps anybody make a better choice, I just want to say, people are looking at you, and some people believe because you believe, because they believe that if you believe it, it must be true. And if you stop believing or stop living like you believe, they might let go too before they grow enough to believe for themselves. Just something to think about if you are in ministry and leadership. So that's it. It's a 10-minute video.